LCT, sir?
I think he's only on audio.
LCT, sir, can you mute your phone?
Apak sir.
Can you mute, sir? Mute your phone.
Apak sir.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
So you can request sir to start.
Yeah, sure.
We'll start afterwards. They will join remaining students.
Okay, sir. Okay. So good evening to all. I am Afaq Ansari, Assistant Professor at DSTS Mandal's College of Pharmacy, Solapur. I welcome respected Dr. Nitin Mahurkar, sir, for today's session. I also welcome all the other delegates and students for today's session. The topic of today's discussion is CPCSEA guidelines. And Mahurkar sir is going to guide us on CPCSEA guidelines. So without wasting much of our time, I welcome him again and request him to begin with his talk. Sir.
So good evening to all of you, and thank you for introduction. Today we are in our last set of discussion on this animal experiments. We have already discussed GLP, that is good laboratory practices, preclinical screening, and then we have discussed about alternate to animal experiments and extrapolation of animal data to human data, then toxicity studies including acute, subacute, and chronic toxicity, and then we have discussed about Schedule Y, as well as we have discussed that is concerned about Ayurved's battery test. So today we are going to discuss about CPCC guidelines. So in bracket, you can see along with CPC guidelines, there is a OECD guideline in your syllabus and ICH guidelines, ICMR guidelines. So these are all different guidelines that are meant for conducting the experiments in lower animals. So to avoid or prevent cruelty to the animals, various governmental agencies of different countries and the experts, they met and they decided that yes, this should be the style of conducting a particular experiment on lower animals, so that there is no cruelty to the animals. At the same time, we derive the best possible scientific data that is useful to entire world. Maybe it is human kingdom, or maybe it is animal kingdom, or maybe it is plant kingdom. So that is with that intention they have laid certain guidelines. In India, it is controlled by CPCSEA. CPCSEA stands for Committee for the Purpose of Control and Supervision of Experiments on Animals. This is part of Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Earlier, it was a part of Ministry of Environmental Science. Now it has been shifted from Ministry of Environmental Science to this Animal Husbandry Department. And CPC guidelines are one of the important guidelines and the latest guidelines. They are all part of OECD guidelines. And earlier to the CPC guidelines, CPC has come into force probably maybe 1 decade or so, 10 to 12 years. It is very much in active force. Earlier to CPC, what type of experiments were conducted, whether scientists were doing the experiments so cruelly, or whether the scientists are not human beings, so that they conduct animal experiments in a very cruel way. So it is not true. Earlier to that also, scientists were conducting experiments in a very real spirit of scientific temperament only. But guidelines as such were of different style. Earlier we had different guidelines. One is from ICH is of course latest. Earlier guidelines were, one is ICMR. ICMR stands for Indian Council for Medical Research, which also has laid the guidelines for this one. Hence, they have kept the name of ICMR. Besides ICMR, there were UGC guidelines, University Grants Commission guidelines, and there were INSA guidelines. that is Indian National Science Academy guidelines were there, which all have same overlapping guidelines that are meant. So by combining all these different guidelines and different ideas, now today we have evolved with CPC guidelines, which is part of ICH guideline. ICH stands for International Committee for Harmonization. So that the guidelines that are followed in India are the same guidelines that are followed in a European country or any other developed country or in any country where pharmacology research is going on, who are all member countries. If you are member country, we have to follow these guidelines. We have seen part of GLP also yesterday, good laboratory practices. So in continuation with that one, various ICH guidelines are laid. Some of the guidelines are concerned with manufacturing process. Some of the ICH guidelines are concerned with clinical trials. Some of the ICH guidelines are concerned with quality control, and some sect of the ICH guidelines deal with this various GLP, GCPs, and how to conduct animal experimentation. In CPC, there are two bodies. One is CPC for small animals, and the second is CPC for larger animals. Small animals include experiments on a rat, mice, and then guinea pigs, gerbils, hamsters, rabbits, and dogs. So these are part of usually small animals. And larger animal includes studies that are related to cattle, ox, horses, and other animals. They are part of, or maybe some chimpanzees or bear, etc. They are all part of larger animals. So we should have separate permission if we are doing experimentation on larger animals, SCLA, subcommittee for larger animals, and one is subcommittee for smaller animals. So for an educational institution level or for a smaller laboratory which is doing research on these animals, subcommittee for small animals should be sufficient. If an organization of a national stature is there, like AIMS is there, All India Institute of Medical Sciences is there, or IICT or any such NIN is there, national level institutes, where a lot of funding process is there, lot of research goes on into higher animals also. There they have to apply for this SCLA, that is subcommittee for larger animals. So today we'll discuss what are the guidelines are same as we have seen in acute toxicity, chronic toxicity, subacute guide. Same thing is the same style of recording on eyes, on ears, on nose, but only thing is time period is different, but parameters are same. So here also subcommittee for small animals, subcommittee for larger animals, parameters stand the same, and animals can differ. This is about what is this CPC and why it was formed, so that throughout the world whatever experiments are done and the style is the same, the data is accepted throughout the world. Earlier what used to happen, suppose if some X country has done this research which is not well established country, so Y country, which is a developed country, they used to raise 101 objections that you have not done this study, your laboratory is of not this standard, hence will not ever import drugs. All these things used to happen. Now, if once they are member countries, once the laboratory is approved, now they cannot say all those things. That is, once it is approved by ICH, that means the data, the scientific data, scientific literature, and the drug or the molecule or whatever the pharmacokinetic data that is being generated is acceptable throughout the world, and there is no point in wasting the animals, the resources, the scientific knowledge by repeating those studies. That is one of the important aspect of this one. Or else what happens, suppose if some studies are done in our country and somebody wants to that I don't believe this data, I want to cross check. So what he is doing for that one? He is wasting so many animals. He has to waste a lot of resources, and unnecessary duplication or repetition of the study will happen. Instead of that, this time that scientist would have utilized for some other new molecule and some other new drug. So that is the spirit why we are doing. Suppose if some country Y has done some studies and they are giving that data to us, so in all probability that data stands true if it is approved by ICH laboratories. If it is approved, then we can believe that data, and we need not have to waste our time and money and resources and subject the animals for drug testing unnecessarily. So that entire duplication will stop. And by sharing the data, all other member countries will come to know that yes, in India, in this laboratory work is going on this particular drug, aspirin drug, on particular. This is one of just a normal example. Then the other country will not waste their time in again doing work on that aspirin, and it is accepted throughout the world. So that is how because scientists are very few in number. Politicians are many. You will get every house you can get one politician, but every house you will not get a scientist. So they are very short. And again, in that scientists who are with a temperament for research, again very few scientists we will get. And because of that, they are in high demand, or that passion or that study is in high demand. Hence, we should not subject these scientists for very duplication work or ordinary work, and their knowledge or their skills or their expertise has to be utilized for some new kind of research, so that it becomes useful to the entire world. So that is the spirit with which these CPCCA guidelines have been laid. Now, first I will give a preamble of the entire CPCCA. Then we will see according to the bookish definitions of what these guidelines are and how to define and how to read those guidelines. So once we start understanding the entire concept, then you can write this in your own words also. It's not necessary that you repeat what is written in the book. You can create your own words and explain in your own scientific knowledge and temperament what is a CPCCA guideline. So coming to this preamble of CPCSEA guideline, and even if there is any some other guideline by chance, suppose instead of a CPCSEA guideline, somebody asked what is an INSA guideline, what is a UGC guideline, what is an ICMR guideline, they are all same. They are all same. And inculcating all these values, they have come out with CPCSEA guidelines. Hence, there is no difference between, they are not contradictory, they are all complementary. All this data, these guidelines that are laid by each committee, laid by experts, highly qualified, experienced scientists and expert. Hence, it is a true for ICH guidelines also. That is CPCCA guidelines. So now let us look into what is the general aspect, why these guidelines have been laid, or what is the purpose of these guidelines, so that we come to know how best these guidelines are. In one word, I will define the entire CPCCA so that you will automatically understand what CPCCA is. So in single line, what is the spirit of this CPCCA? Even though it is a very big book, all this data is available for free of cost. www.ichguidance.org. If you click, you will get hundreds of pages of the data regarding this one, whatever I am speaking about GCP, GLP, Schedule Y, and CPCCA guidelines. Everything is available free of cost. That is the advantage. It is available in the domain, so that any country, any scientist can freely download that data and utilize for his development or development of his organization where he is working. So defining these guidelines in one line, single line, that is, whatever I want or whatever I want to in my life to lead, or to lead a day-to-day life, whatever I want. I, in the sense, any human being, whatever any human being wants, that is a CPC guideline. Now, what is that one? Is in the one single line we have defined. Now, what actually it is? So now what I want is, I want a very good house. I want a very good bed. I want a air conditioner. If it is summer, is very harsh. We know Gulbarga, Solapur temperature is 45 degrees centigrade. So I want an ideal temperature of 26 degrees or 25 degrees centigrade. So I want, I don't want any sound or disturbance near my house, isn't it? I don't want any publicity or anything, so that I don't get disturbed. Suppose if my house is situated on a road where a lot of sodium lamps are focused, and my windows are made up of transparent glass, so my sleep is disturbed. I don't want that one. So that means I don't want disturbance. I don't want excess light, or at the same time dark also. Suppose if around your house somebody is building our house is a single floor house or a 2-floor house, and around our house, some 20-story building is coming from all the four sides. So we will not get any sunlight itself. That also we don't want. That is, I want adequate sunlight. I want access to nearby places. I want and what type of food I want? I want hygienic food. I want a good quality food. What type of water I want? I want good quality water. That is potable water. Whichever agency is supplying that one potable water, I want that water. If suppose if the water is not good, I will start buying the mineral water. That is, I want good quality water. So what type of bedding? I want a good quality of bedding. I want a good quality of room. I want an air conditioner for that one. And what type of assistant I want to take care? I want a very good hygienic person who can take care of, who can clean my house, who can clean my room. All these things, isn't it? So this is our day-to-day activity. Concern to food, concern to house, concern to our bedding, concern to our water that we consume, concern to our regular environment where it has to be placed, and there should be trees around our house, or so whatever it is there. The same thing is CPCCA guidelines. This is called as human end. So whatever human ends are there, that is applicable to animals. Now I want suppose my small children are there. So what I want? I want a garden near my house so that I can take my children for a walk or for a play into the garden. Now I want evening. I want recreation. I want to go for a recreation around, isn't it? So now this is what is human end. Now you may feel, sir, in what way animals children park? What is the link between the children's park taking them around and animals link for this one? This is as per CPCCA guideline. So what is that CPCCA guideline? Why it is like that? As I want my children to play in the park, or they want some rehabilitation, maybe a slope is there, maybe some cradles are there for playing, isn't it? Because I want my children to grow in a healthy way, natural way, normal way. So now in animal studies, suppose if I had done some experiment on some animal, rat or mice or something like that. I have done, suppose if it is a sacrificial experiment, or you imagine any animal, both small animal as well as large animal, let us say a horse or a donkey or a sheep or a cow, whatever experiment animal we are doing on this animal, let us imagine that one. Suppose if you are doing a rat experiment and sacrificing at the end of the experiment, no issue. The issue stands closed because you killed the animal. Now I want to do the experiment, but I'm not sacrificing the animal because simply I have done a small fracture study on the bones, and then I have again healed that fracture. But now the animal is limping; it is not walking properly. So now I don't want to kill the animal because animal is not dead. It may be horse. So if you imagine in big animal, it becomes more easy to understand. It may be in a horse. It may be in a cow. That is, I have done some fracture studies and wanted to test a new drug that heals the fractures. But after that, it has healed the fractures or some infection. But I don't want to kill that animal because nothing has happened. Only it is limping. That is the only problem that it has developed. Not like earlier one, it is not running or this one, but it's quite alive, quite healthy, isn't it? Today also we have people who are deaf but lead a very normal life, who have lost their hands amputated but lead a normal life, who have lost one leg but still they lead a very normal life. There is no absolute change in any parameters. BP, respiration, sugar, everything is common. Same thing in animals. So that means animal is worthy of living. I have not tested any cancerous drug or a radiational drug or any toxic substance so that I have to kill the animal. Yes. Yes. Any questions are there? Okay. I think somebody unmuted their mic accidentally. So now, what is the link between my children playing and these animals? That is, called as rehabilitation. Human beings, we know that I want to play this one, I want a theater around my house, I want a jogging track, everything. But what about animals? So now I have done some experiment on the rat. My experiment is over. Rat is quite healthy. Only some small skin toxicity has come, or something. It has lost some fur, which is not worth of killing. It is worth living. So now I am not doing any new experiments. So what I should do with the animal? I have a horse. I have a cow, or I have done some. This one, as I said, a common example of fracture. Or let us say dog. I have done a fracture healing, but the dog is limping. So what we have to do with these animals? Shall we kill them? Because just because it is limping, we cannot kill. If it is, we have disturbed something of the animal, wherein you have taken out some part of the body, or you have amputated all the four limbs, or you have done some major experiment or surgeries, then it may be worth killing that animal. But suppose if some minor study we have done, it is not worth killing. It should be allowed to lead its own natural life. Now, where do you allow it to live its natural life? In a laboratory. Suppose if you have put rats in a cage, do you leave albino rats in the environment? We cannot live, because they are not habited to live in the open environment. They are habited to live only in a laboratory. So now I am not doing any experiment, because already I have done some damage to the animal. I am not selling to some other animal host, because they have to conduct the experiment. Because I only am not doing, how can I give it to others? So should I kill that animal, which is unethical? So what I have to do? That is rehabilitation, which I wanted to connect it to our children. So what is that rehabilitation? No, rats have a habit of, let us say, hiding into the burrows. Now my experimentation is over. You should create a room separately for the rats, so that you provide some sand, this one small sand dune, or you create some environment, so that you leave the rat there, and the rat will lead a natural life for the rest of its life. Maybe it will dig its some ground, it will dig to some 4 5 or centimeters of ground, it will dig, or it will dig some sort of a place, or it will start scratching the earth, or it will start running around a particular a large area. This is rehabilitation. Most of us, we do not are aware of this concept. We think that after experimentation I have to kill the animal, or some kind hearted people may keep the animal like that only. So if you keep the animal like that only, what should I do with that animal? That means I should provide same quality food, same quality water, same quality bed cleaning, same environment, same day and night cycle. Everything has to be maintained for that animal. Now you can extend this logic to any larger animal. You extend it to sheep, extend it to cow, extend it to this one. That is, you should create an environment where it will, suppose you have done some experiment on monkeys. This is one beautiful example where we can easily correlate. Monkeys have a habit of jumping from one tree to other tree, or hanging upside down, or something from one branch to other branch, or some activity they will be doing. Now you have done some experiment with that monkey, and it is not worth killing it. So shall I keep that monkey for the rest of its life in a 4 by 4 cage? Because I don't want to do experiment. Already I have done some experiment. Now I should not torture that animal. Should I keep in 4 by 4 cage? Can we imagine ourselves sitting in one small room for the rest of the life? So that is what we are doing. Hence, CPC says that suppose if you have done some experiments on the monkeys or this one, what you have to do? You have to create a place of something similar to a zoo. You provide a large cage, so that that animal, and provide artificial trees there, so that the animal for the rest of the life can jump from one tree to the other tree, or move around in a large area, or drink the water that is available, or play some cradle, or some sort of this one, play some mischiefs there, because that is a natural habitat. That is what is rehabilitation. Now this sounds so nice, so I can rehabilitate an animal, there is absolutely no problem. But who will take care of that animal's feeding? Who will take care of that veterinary, any diseases that it develops? That means there should be a veterinarian who can take care of all these things. So this is the responsibility of a scientist. That is, most of the time we only think that I can do experiments and either dispose it off, or I can kill the animal, or I'll wind up with this one and forget I do my M farm and leave the rats to the college and let the college fellows do something whatever they want, and I walk off with an M farm degree. So who will take care of those animals? That means there should be an veterinary doctor. There should be an environment. There should be some sort of games that are there the animal can play. Simplest is you put some pebbles or some balls in a small this one, so that the animals can uh, push those pebbles here and there, or keep some sort of a small play there, so that animal rat can climb there and get down from that place. Something and all you have to create that is natural to that particular animal. That is what is human end. This is the spirit of CPCSEA. So that is, we have to give a good water, good room, good air conditioner, good climate, and a veterinarian and good technician and good clean environment. Suppose my room is stinking, can I sleep comfortably? I cannot. So what I have to do? I have to clean it, mop it with a phenyl or a detergent or whatever it is there, so that I can sleep or I can stay calm. So what you have to do in animals? Same thing. Suppose I have a room and there are a lot of spider nets in my room. Can I sleep comfortably? I cannot. So what I have to do? I have to clean the these cobwebs or spiders. In my room, we can clean it, or I can ask an attendant to clean it. But in rat's room, who will tell? That means there should be a person who will clean that one. Suppose a lot of mosquitoes are there around. I put a liquidator, I put a mosquito mat, and then drive away and sleep comfortably. What about rats, rabbits? If there are mosquitoes, who will take care of them? There should be a, they cannot tell that no ma'am, this one mosquitoes are there, kindly put a mat or a liquidator. Nobody to tell. They undergo suffering. When they undergo suffering, so there should be some sort of a technician who will take care of those things. Suppose something has happened, foul smell is there nearby our house. We call a municipality or a police or something, and then we get animal is dead. We get it disposed of. In a rat cage, when you keep 6 rats, one rat is dead. Animal will not come and tell that there it is stinking. One rat is dead. So there should be a duty of some technician who is constantly watching and goes and removes that dead rat, and then he gives a clean environment. Suppose if there are lizards in my room, can I sleep comfortably? I cannot. If there are cockroaches in my room, can I sleep comfortably? I cannot. Suppose if I have large windows to my room and external snakes will start coming inside, or a scorpion may climb, or some birds may come, or a bat may fly inside my house because my windows are very big. So what I have to do? I have to close the window. Suppose if I close the window, how do I get air? That means I will provide AC. AC in the sense, is it a natural air? That means I should have a mesh to my window so that natural air also comes, and this is also maintained very well. So exactly in one line, whatever human beings want, same thing animals want. Suppose if my floor is has so many cracks, or my walls have so many cracks, so dust will start accumulating there, or mosquitoes may make a home there, or some other insect may make a home, dragonfly may make a home there, or honeybees may make a home there. So what I should do? I should plaster my walls perfectly well so that nothing can make a home there. So this is what is CPCC guidelines. So this is how we have to correlate everything from human end. Everything from human end. You see, if I'm in that place, if I'm in the mosquito room, is it comfortable for me? If there are lizards, am I comfortable there? If there are cockroaches, am I comfortable there? If the room is very dirty, am I comfortable there? If bed is very dirty, am I comfortable there? No, what is bedding for this animal? For us, we know a cot, a bed, something like that. For what about animal? For animal, the bed is, we have to provide a sterile bedding for the animals. What is that sterile bedding for the animals? That is, you have to provide, nowadays we are getting a sterile bedding that is made up of maize cob. Maca, the inside after eating the maize, that cob will be there, isn't it? It is cut into small pieces or a cork pieces, and that is sterilized, it is dried, and it is spread in the cage. So that is sterile bedding for the animal. Why we want that bedding for the rats? Because there is urination, there is defecation. If urination is there in a non-bedded cage, plastic cage, so animal will experience lot of wet things and then lot of discomfort. One of the studies says that suppose if the temperature is 4 degrees centigrade in the room, Antarctica, let us imagine 2, 3, 4 degrees centigrade only. If temperature is 4 degrees centigrade, the pharmacological data that you test with a drug is 10 times different from the data that you develop in a temperature of 25 degrees centigrade. 10 times you will get variation. That is, in 25 degrees centigrade, if you get 100% response, so there, how much you will get? Only 10% response, or vice versa. There, if you get 10%, 100% response in a tropical place, you may get only 10% response. Or in terms of 10, there you get 10%, and here you get 1% response. 1% response means you discard the drug because there is no response at all. This is what can happen. Hence, temperature standardization, humidity standardization, food standardization has to be done. Suppose it's very costly. If I am correct, this maize that we eat, which costs 10 rupees or so, this cob that is after eating the maize, the cob that is cut into cubes and sterilized will cost more than 150 to 200 rupees per kg. More costlier than the actual maize because it is sterilized. And all these laboratories, they use that one. National laboratory. I have seen that national laboratory, Indian Institute of Molecular Biology at New Delhi. I have seen they use this cob as a bed. Their water is treated with hydrochloric acids. Water, distilled water they treat with a dilute hydrochloric acid so that in bottle the microorganisms do not grow, and they add extra minerals there so that minerals are supplemented, replenished, and then they give. Not only that much, every cage has a separate oxygen generator. Every cage, every polypropylene cage is a tightly closed cage. It has two holes. One is provides a fresh oxygen there. The other is sucks out the this one carbon dioxide that is eliminated. So you can imagine the cost that is involved in this one, how much costly the experiments become. And we cannot enter those animal house without wearing a cap and a sterile mask and entire body gown and this one shoe covering. We cannot enter into the laboratory. So that is that quality of experiment. It is expected. So that is what is CPCSEA guidelines. So this is what, in a nutshell, I have told almost like a preamble or almost like a story. What is meant by CPCCA? What are these guidelines, and how it is implemented? The purpose is to get the best possible results at the end of the experiment. What we have to do with the animals. So this aspect so far I am not touched. I am only now dealing with only how animal room should be cockroach free, lizard free. It should be plastered and AC and fresh air, fresh ventilation. All these things we say, food and bedding. These things only we have discussed. Now I say rehabilitation. We have discussed that rehabilitation means I provide a play area to monkeys so that they can jump here and there, or I provide a free yard to this. Horses so that they can limp or walk and then eat a lot of grass and lead a happy life for the rest of the time of their lifetime that it is meant for. It may be anything. It may be donkey, it may be a gorilla, or it may be a bear that you are doing experimentation. It can be anything because every animal is a model for experimentation. So this is how we have to develop. Now suppose that is one part, rehabilitation. Other part is I have to kill the animal. Because I have done open heart surgery, taken out the heart, or I have taken out the intestine piece, or I have taken out the liver from the animal and doing some liver hepatic cell studies. So now animal is without liver. There is no point in again suturing and keeping the animals alive because no liver at all. So at that time I have to kill that animals. So if to kill the animal, how to kill the animal? There CPCC says how to kill a particular animal. Earlier, before CPCC, what these people used to do is they used to bleed the animal. In cinemas they show, isn't it, so many movies, heroine, while she wants to end the life, she will cut her arm and then she will bleed it till death. That is called as exsanguation. In animals, earlier they used to do, they used to bleed the animal till death, which is cruel. Now it is not accepted. And some of the people used to give excess dose of chloroform and kill the animal. Not accepted. Some people used to cut off the head of the rat and mice, the decapitation method, and kill the animal. Not accepted nowadays in CPC. This is the difference of how CPC has come in a prominent role. Now they say that excess dose of an intravenous anesthetic should be given, or animal is subjected to microwave. These are new techniques how a particular animal is killed after experimentation. Then I have killed the animal. Next, what I will do? The dead body of the animal is there. What I have to do that with that dead body? Because you might have tested some radioactive element that if you throw into the open, vultures will eat, a crow may eat, or some sparrow may eat that animal, or some dog may eat that animal. And the drug that you have tested, which is a biotechnologically modified drug, or it may be a cancerous drug, now from that rat it has entered into the body of a dog, it has entered into the body of a frog or some other animal, it has entered into the body of a crow or a eagle or some other animal. So that means when it dies, some other animals eat. So this keeps on spreading into the entire environment. Cancerous drug is a common example. It may be a radioactive element that you have tested. We use radioactive gold, we use radioactive phosphorus, we use radioactive iodine in thyroid treatment. We all have studied radiopharmaceuticals. They are very much used in medicine. Suppose if such drugs are given, so wherever the animal or that is there, it keeps on irradiating into the soil. It keeps on irradiating the water that where you have throw the animal. It keeps on irradiating the entire environment, and then disease keeps on spreading into the society, human beings, animals, or wherever it is there. House flies may eat off the dead body and they start getting cancerous diseases. A new modified, genetically GM modified fly may come and which is resistant to any other things. It may start spreading some new diseases. We do not know. Latest example we have seen, isn't it? This COVID virus spread through bats. Some modifications, genetic modification, and it keeps on spreading into human beings. Monkeypox, we are nowadays listening a new one. So many things, and viruses keep on mutating themselves. We have seen COVID-19 virus, and then Omicron came, and then Hanta virus came, and so many such viruses they are coming. We all know, isn't it? Various strains. So this can happen. Hence, disposal of that carcass of the animal is also equally important. So how should I dispose? Maybe people are living in a ordinary city like a Solapur. No problem. I have plenty of lands. I bury deep into the soil and then bury it, maybe 10 feet or so that dogs also do not take it out. Fine. Suppose if some laboratory is there in a city like Bombay or something like that, where ground itself is not available for digging. So what I have to do with that carcass? It's not one or two. You may generate hundreds of such rats because tens of students are working. So at that time, in such cities, we have bio waste collecting bodies where they collect all this bio waste. Nowadays, it's very common. Doctors near doctor they collect syringe and this cotton swab and so many things they collect and then they dispose of in a scientific. They are supposed to dispose of in a scientific way, either totally incinerated or totally destroyed, completely destroyed. So this is what actually should be the right spirit. So that is what is CPCCA guideline. So CPCCA guideline cover all these aspects, and that is what is CPCCA guideline. They also tell how to collect the blood, from where to collect the blood. In vitro techniques, it's written in the syllabus, isn't it? Like earlier, they used to collect directly, puncture the heart and collect. Suppose if rabbit blood is there, they used to collect a lot of 10 ml of the blood. They used to collect. If rat is there, scientists used to collect more than 3 ml of the blood. So how much blood is there in the rat? How much blood is there in the mouse? Mouse itself is 25 grams. The amount of blood available is hardly 2 to 3 ml. If you take out 1 ml of the blood, the animal will die because of hypotension. So we should know how much of blood has to be drawn. So from here we have to draw the blood. Maybe retroorbital puncture is permitted. Maybe from tail vein is permitted. For rabbits, marginal ear vein is permitted. So from where the sites they have identified, from that site, and the quantity also they have mentioned, it should be the least possible quantity. Now so many we have sophisticated technologies wherein we can identify. Earlier what they used to do, suppose simply a diabetic person goes and checks for blood glucose, what they used to do, they used to draw 5-10 ml of the blood from human being, separate blood and the plasma, and test for the glucose by Nelson Somogy method, O-Torvidin method, Polino method. We have done biochemistry lab, isn't it? Like that they used to test. Now it is not like. Now how much blood you give for testing blood sugar? 1 drop. Where you will test in your home? Oh, glucometer. Just you puncture, put a drop, insert into that glucometer. 30 seconds, you get a reading how much is the glucose. That means from that 10 ml, we have reduced to such a sophisticated level. So in rats also, we should reduce ourselves to such a sophisticated level that 0.1 ml, 0.2 ml blood or maximum 0.5 ml of blood, we should do all the parameters. You will be interested in HGOT, HGPT, albumin, bilirubin, whatever you want to do. We should be able to complete the experiment in small quantity of blood so that anyone doesn't experience hypotension and giddiness, isn't it? Suppose one person has donated 2 bottles of blood. What doctor will say, first sit for some time, he will give fruit and then something, and then he will say go slowly, don't drive. In rats also, if you take more quantity of the blood, that rat also undergoes same hypotension, giddiness, and it may collapse also. So that is what is CPCSEA. How much blood has to be taken, from where it has to be taken, what sophistication we have to do while doing the experimentation. So all these guidelines in a beautiful way, in a systematic way, under headings, subheadings, when it is described in a bookish language, that is CPCSEA guidelines. So this is what a preamble in a nutshell. Now we will see, we will read so that now easily you go on understanding what is that CPCSEA guideline without explaining much about it. So now ICMR guidelines, what is this ICMR guidelines? That is purpose or a preface meant to know, have a knowledge of physiology, microbiology, pharmacology, and to for the etiopathology or etiology, diagnosis, progression of a particular disease, how to prevent a particular disease. So all these things we want to know from animal studies. So for that, how to use the animal, we should have a CPCCA permission. Now suppose yesterday also I was telling in GLP, suppose if studies can be done with 6 animals, don't use 10 animals. If studies are sufficient to give uncompromised data, scientific data with 5 animals, go for 5 animals, don't go use 6 animals. This is what is CPCCA guidelines. Earlier they used to feel because ours is a national level laboratory, so I have done studies on 20 rats and then I will give data. That is not accepted. Whatever the richness that laboratory may be, whatever money they may have, if data, scientific data can be generated in 6 animals, generate in 6 animals only, not 20 animals, just because you have a lot of money. That is what is spirit of CPCCA. Now we should know what is the need, why CPC guidelines are needed. That is stress conditions. We have seen that suppose if a house is near railway station or near airport, how much disturbance in Bombay. Every 30 seconds one flight takes off. Every 30 seconds one flight lands there in Bombay Shivaji terminus. So the flats that are there near it, actually there no flats should come, but you know how still they come. So that means still it is a disturbance to those people because every 30 seconds in the sense continuously flight. One of my co-brothers used to live near that one. Never we used to connect on a mobile because the moment the flight takes off again it gets disturbed. It used to network used to cut. Every time the flight takes off again network used to cut. So we were talking only on landline only. So that means it is disturbance for general public also. So such things also can happen. Same thing will happen to animals. Hence, it should be away from this such large sound or large noise where it is there. Then this mainly covers about from where I have to procure the animal. So animals earlier, suppose if say so yes, you have animals left in your college, so why don't you give to me? I will continue the study. Now that is not permitted. Animals have to be procured from an registered breeder. The registered breeder, he maintains a document of all the animals and then he gives. So when you procure the animals, you should also maintain a document. Even if there is one animal is dead, you should account it and record it in a register that animal is dead. If it is a normal death, record as a normal death. If the animal has died due to some other reason, then you have to do post-mortem of that animal and give the report that animal died because of this infection. Animal died because of so and so disease. Animal died because of so and so complication. This is what has to be recorded, documented. Earlier, okay, I brought 20 animals, one animal is dead, so simply silent, go and throw from some window, and okay, no, nothing is, everything matter gets closed. Now it is not like that. Even if one animal is dead, why it is dead? Do the post-mortem, find out the reason for the death, and then bury it in the way that is meant for, maybe incineration, maybe a higher dose, or maybe burying deep or microwave exposure. So all these are the different techniques where CPC gives guidelines for that one. Then transport, how you are transporting the animals, maybe from outside to your college or within your college itself, from the animal house to the laboratory where you are doing the experimentation. If you bring the animal in a public way, suppose if police catches a thief or gundas or something else, they catch, isn't it? What they do, they put a cloth on their face and bring, so that people should not see that fellow's face. Because if crime is not proved, when he comes out of the jail, people will start identifying him and maybe they will corner him. So because of that, they put a cloth or they tie with a kerchief. All these things we have witnessed, isn't it? So like that only, when you are doing experiment with an animal from an animal house to your laboratory, you should not bring it in open place. You should bring in a closed cage and not in a public view and disturbance, so that people will come to know, yes, you are doing experiment. No, in a closed way, in a transportation cages, how you are taking, whether you are taking them lifting or through lift you are taking. So all these things have to be recorded. That is part in CPC. Now suppose if you are bringing from some other city, from Bombay or Pune, you are bringing the animals. How you are bringing those animals? That means you have to bring in an air conditional animal transport vehicle only, with transport cages, with standard food and standard water. So that is what is this CPCCA guideline for transportation. So everything is well defined. Earlier, they used to go bring the animal, sometimes mountain, put them in a train under a berth also, in a passenger train, and bring. We today also we see so many people. They come with their sheep in passenger train. Of course, in express trains they are not doing, but earlier it was a quite common scene. Smoking in a train and then coming with their pet animals and coming with sheep. I have seen plenty of times sheep. But of course now they are all not permitted. So this is a guideline where we have to take there. Then food and water. So what food we have, general I have told you, food, whatever food I want, same I want in the sense not based on taste, based on its quality in the sense I want proteins, I want carbohydrates, I want lipids, I want vitamins, I want minerals in my food every day, so that my health is maintained properly. Same food has to be given to the animals, not based on taste. Suppose if I like more of sweet food, it's not necessary that animal also likes sweet. Not that is not the motto. Motto is animal food should nutritionally be complete. So that is the meaning of food. And from source, from where you are getting that animal feed, he should give a report that this animal feed is manufactured on so and so date, expiry date is so and so. I have tested this. This has so much content of protein, carbohydrate, lipids, and it is fit for animal consumption. This certificate should be there. It should be archived, kept in the file, so that whoever sees international agency, they come and inspect what experiment you have done. You should show that I brought this food from this laboratory. This is the report of this food. Again, that laboratory will have again certification, GLP certification. or CPC certification, then only you can bring from that place. So like that, everybody becomes accountable in the system, and the experiment will become of high standard. Then providing food, you are providing food. Suppose if you provide only 1/4 of quantity, animal will not die. Suppose since morning 24 hours, I am only on my breakfast. I may not die, but I did not had my lunch. I did not had my dinner. Like that, animals also food timing in sufficient quantity. So that is the meaning. Sufficient quantity you have to provide, not just provide 4 pellets to the animal and then walk off. You have to provide sufficient quantity so that animal eats as and when it is hungry, because that is habitat of the animal. It eats as and when it is hungry. Every animal has its own habit of eating. Some keep on ruminating. Buffaloes, they keep on ruminating. They eat, then they bring it out, and then start chewing the food. Cows are there, they ruminate it, isn't it? So all the time they will be chewing. We are not provided food, but they bring it back and then they start chewing it. That is animal God has made like that only. Sparrows, etc. Early in the morning itself, they start searching their food and eating. So like that, every animal has its own style of food. So that means rats have their own style of eating. All the time they keep on eating. They can eat quintals of food. So you should provide. It doesn't mean that you provide so much of food, because all the 24 hours they eat the food. Animal becomes 350 to 400 grams in weight. It becomes obese animal. So your studies are not in now in normal animal. They are in obese animal. Data is different. Physiological parameter is different for that particular animal. Hence, we want adult and healthy animals, not obese animals. So you should provide a proper quantity of the food. Just because you have a lot of food, you cannot provide any quantity of food, or you cannot provide very little quantity of food so that the animal stays very slim only. So you know what happens, those who want to stay very slim, and this one, how so the so-called VVIPs have died because of that dieting. This one, so in animals also, it's not necessary that you starve them to keep them underweight. Don't give them so much food that all the 24 hours they eat and they become obese, unfit for the studies. Ideal weight for a rat should be around 180 to 200 or 220 grams. For a mouse, 25, 28 or 30 grams is the ideal weight. Suppose if your mouse has grown 40 grams, it is obese or overweight. If your rat has grown about 250 grams or 300 grams, they grow up to 400 grams also. So it is obese, unfit for the studies. So that is, the purpose is not served. Your broad animal purpose is not served. So that is how we should know what type of this one. Then water quality. So that is also very important. I have already told about that one. Then the access to food. That is also, you should give sufficient access to the food so that the animal, as and when it is hungry, it takes its food. Particularly. Then sanitization. Now we are reading the subheadings. Subheadings and how it is very, very well defined in the words. You can extract from www this one. OECD guidelines, free of cost. It's free download only. ich.org, you can get this one. Then sanitization and cleanliness. This in the first preamble I have given that one. Same thing in written language. Written language they say that regular cleaning is required with detergent and disinfectant. This you can write in our own words also. Then dryness should be maintained in the cage. This we have seen. And then remove the feces, urine, that is littered material. So that also you can write in your own sentences that cages should be dry so that animal doesn't get infected with its own urine or it feels wet. This line you can write on your own. Book says that maintain dryness. So how to explain that one? You can explain on your own. Then cage cleaning. Cage cleaning should be a regular activity. It's not that today I cleaned it in the morning at 8 o'clock, tomorrow I will clean only in the evening while going back. No. Every day morning 8 means every 8 we have to clean. While going, if we are cleaning, we have to clean. If 3 times a day we are cleaning, we have to clean 3 times a day. That is fixed time, 8, 12 and 5. Not that today 8 o'clock and tomorrow instead of 12 at 2 o'clock, or instead of 5 at 7. It's not all permitted. Time, that time only it has to be cleared. Then feeding bottle stoppers. Many times we don't take note of this one. We give water through a feeding bottle, but you can see that it becomes green in color. Especially nozzle, lot of fungus grows around that one. Algae, blue-green algae glows, and it can cause infection. So you should know, as I have told the example of this Delhi laboratory. national laboratory, where they treat water with hydrochloric acid so that that will not develop any infectious organisms. So, or you have to sterilize those. Now polycarbonate bottles have come. You can very well sterilize those bottles. Or if you are using glass bottles, you sterilize them, put it in autoclave and sterilize and give sterile water. And regularly, it is a regular activity. It's not that today first time I sterilized and then I keep on using throughout year. No, it has to be done regularly. Every day you replace with a sterile bottle, take out old bottles, put it for sterilization. Second day again keep sterile bottles, take out old bottles and sterilize it. Not only bottles, we have to sterilize cages, we have to sterilize the bedding that it is using. So everything it has to be sterilized so that the animals are healthy and normal and they are not suffering from any disease. That is one. Then deodorizers, as I said, suppose if our room is stinking, we cannot sleep. Same thing will happen to animals. You have to provide sufficient deodorizers, etc. Today we have so many such things, isn't it? Where we put naphthalene balls are there, which give a fresh smell, or so many such scented naphthalene balls have come. So you have to provide, apart from cleaning with phenyl and other things, provide all these things. Then veterinary care, even after maintaining all these things, animal may suffer from a disease like human beings. Even if we eat healthy food and remaining so much perfectly, this one still we get some fevers or a cough or something like that. So their animals also will suffer from infections. So when they start suffering from infection, maybe there can be skin infections, mites may be there. We have seen this mites or infections in cow ears. Cow, if you check the ears, you can see those blood sucking mites are there. Same thing in a dog also we can find, in the ears we can find lot of, or they develop wax. Wax is developed especially in rabbits to such an extent that its ear also falls off, it head also gets treated. So much of wax is developed. So wax cleaning has to be done there in rabbits. So that is, animal may suffer from diseases. So there we should have a veterinarian. So he will check the regularly. It has to be done. It's not that once in a while after disease comes. It's not like that. Every day or every alternate day, a doctor should visit and take care of all the health of the animals, and then give remedial measure there. Sometimes they suffer from worms infections. So anthelmintic has to be given to those rabbits, etc. If their ears are blocked, you have to develop. Some rabbits hair, they start appearing, the tick and lice will come, so that has to be cleaned. Sometimes some other infecting organisms skin, they develop a fungus on the skin itself, isn't it? Human beings means we clean with the shampoo, something like that, but in rabbits, etc., this may not be possible. So there we have to treat them with a sufficient antifungal agent like a Selsun, Seldan, or whatever a veterinary doctor recommends. So these are the things that you have to check. So under different headings we are discussing. Then in long-term studies, they should doctor should check signs of illness, injury. You are simply keeping testing the drug on a cow or this one, and you have spent 1 year or 2 year, but inside it is developing some illness. It is not dying, but has developed illness. That has to be checked by a veterinary doctor. Then personal hygiene and the training of the staff. Yesterday I was quoting the example of I am at a nursing home, is maternity home, because they are cheaply available. They start offering instead of qualified nurses. So here also an animal house technician is not an just normal any other person. He should be qualified person like a BSc, and he should be trained in animal handling. Then only he is appointed as an animal health technician. So now question comes, who will train these people? There are so many agencies. CPCSEA itself trains such technicians, and they will give a certificate and you can appoint those people. Or CFTRI trains such people. CFTRI Mysore, they train the people and at regular intervals they do a call for also. I know a scientist uh, who says that he himself is involved in the training, and they do call for also. This person after BSc qualification also, they have to stay there for a 15 days program. They all treat how to separate mothers from the babies in case of rats, that is weaning, how to do weaning, and how to separate the cages, when to keep for mating, when to separate them, and what is the mating ratio, and then how to change the bed in case of infection, their personal hygiene, all these things they train, and finally they give a certificate that he is fit for animal trainer, and then we can appoint those people so that they become animal house technicians. So that is animal house technician. He should be person. Besides, he should not suffer from a disease. Suppose if that animal technician itself is suffering from some disease, whenever he goes into animals, he transmit his disease to the animals. So that also he should be healthy person. And then while going inside, he should sterilize and wash his hands with a good quality soap before entering and while coming out also. Then he should wear protective gears like gloves is there, mask is there, protective coat is there. All these things they have to wear. Then surgeries, if we are doing, we cannot do multiple surgeries on one animal. That is, every animal separate surgeries. That is, somebody may say that I will do heart surgery, so person B will do liver surgery, and person C will do stomach surgery, person 4 will do brain surgery, the same animal, person 5 will do kidney surgery. So you are torturing multiple times the same animal. So that also should not happen. So that is what we should know. And we should avoid restraints like minimum stress. So that is, we should not cause much of the stress to the animal. That is one of the important criteria of this CPC. Then we should register with the animal house. What we are supposed to, we have to register with CPCSEA New Delhi and obtain a registration. They will appoint 4 members from external, one main nominee, one link nominee, one external biological scientist, like that they appoint, and internal members who are qualified like member secretary, chairman of the CPCSEA, and one veterinary doctor we have to suggest. And when it is approved, one environmental NGO, he may be a lawyer or he may be a social activist. So totally 10 members are there. So we have to conduct at least 2 meetings. In that meeting, quorum should be full. If quorum is not full, the meeting is again cancelled. It is null and void. Out of 10, there should be 6 people should be there for a meeting, because some link nominee may say that I am busy, I will not come. Or 4 people they say I will not be. 5 people say only 5 people have come for meeting. Meeting has to be cancelled. That is what with reference to this registration. And then we should display very clearly in our animal house what type of animals are there, and what type of how many males. Suppose rats are there, I have 100 rats. Out of 100, 50 male, 50 female, or 40 male, 40 female, 20 newborn. So all this data, I have rabbits, which brand of which strain of the rabbit, how many male, how many female, how many mice, male mice, female mice, and quarantine mice, mice suffering from certain diseases. All this data should be available when we enter an animal house, and it should be mentioned. It should mention what who CPC who are the committee members, and what is your registration number. And then coming to the other hygiene aspects of layout of this animal house. Animal house room, I have told how it should be clean and all those things. And suppose suppose you have a very ordinary example I will give. Please don't feel that this one. Suppose we are eating food in our home, and some rat is dead in our some other nearby home, and some person from our house wants to dispose that rat. And he, while eating the food, suppose if he starts taking that dead rat in front of our house, we start getting nauseating feeling, isn't it? Like that also in this rats and mice cages also, when we clean their fecal matter and all those things, we should not carry while we bring a good quality fruit or a good quality bedding there. That means 2 separate doors should be there. One is to take out the bedding and then dirt and then fecal matter. It should be from a separate door. It is called as dirty corridor. There are 2 corridors. One is dirty corridor, other is clean corridor. Dirty corridor, through dirty corridor, you take cages, you take out bottles, you take out that all those things. Other is clean corridor. From clean corridor, you bring sterile cages and sterile water bottles, food for the animal, and then other things we have to bring from clean corridor. They should not come opposite to each other, clean corridor and dirty corridor. Dirty corridor only for disposal, clean corridor for bringing all these things. So that is the concept of dirty corridor, clean corridor. Now CPC insists that you should have a CCTV camera. CCTV camera to record when the technician has come, when he has fed, when he has cleaned, whether this one sterilization is done or not. And then when we take out, you have to incinerate that food material, fecal matter, all those things. Then cages, you have to sterilize them in boiling water, not simply cleaning with detergent. Sterilize them in boiling water, allow it for drying either through oven or through some tray dryers or in an open air. They should be dried and brought from clean corridor. So this is what we have to maintain in a particular animal house. And apart from this, same thing what we in nutshell we have discussed, there are more or less they are of same style. Then if this is not done, there are some cruelty to the animals, etc. So many acts are there. According to that, there is a punishment. Now, earlier, probably in your childhood, you have seen Mumbai, Chowpatty Beach, etc. Camel ride and horse ride and something like that used to be there. Now they have all taken out. Nothing. No animal, camel ride and nothing. They have all stopped those things because it causes torture to the animal. They have stopped all those things. So many such new things are coming from CPC. We should be as from circus. We have seen yesterday that all those things have been now removed. There is no more this one animals, animal lions, etc. Birds, so nothing to be used. You cannot even maintain also. In America, if you are maintaining a dog also, you should get a registration for maintaining that dog, and you should provide a air conditioner room for that dog, and then a veterinarian should be appointed who will come and check your dog whether it is healthy or suffering from any disease, and then you should once in a while take for rehabilitation of a dog to a five-star hotel. Dog five-star hotels are there in America. Then various vacational rehabilitation centers are there for dogs in the European countries. Anyway, of course, there is a different aspect. We will not go much into that one. But here, for as far as experiments are concerned, we should take care of all these day-to-day activities that are there. The next is all this is pertaining to animals. Now next comes is record keeping. Another heading, record keeping. So what are these record? So that means a technician should be there, qualified technician. He should be provided a separate room in an animal house, and he should maintain the records pertaining to those animals. So what it should contain? Animal house plan. That is what where is the dirty corridor, where is the clean corridor, where are air conditioners, and where are the exhaust fans, how many lights are there, how many fans are there, where is a cleaning room. All these things have to be mentioned. That is animal house plan. You should keep in your record. When they come for inspection, we should show that one. Then name and address of the staff, his phone number, so that that technician is not there. Somebody he is gone on a casual leave, and he asks some other assistant to take care. But animals develop some diseases or complication. At that time, he should his address and phone number should be available, so that he should be contacted and he should come and again rectify what is the problem. Then staff health records. There should be a doctor to check the health of the technician. Earlier, veterinary doctor to check the health of the rats and mice or rabbits, whatever the animals it is. Now, a doctor is required to check the health of that technician, so that there is no contamination from the animals. That person is not getting disease, and from this human being, the animal diseases are not transferred to the animals. For that, he also should be checked. Then training of this animal house technician, how to train him. He should be a trained personality. Then he should have a stock record register. Stock record register means I have 10 kg of the food. So that means suppose all the food is over, then if he starts ordering for next lot of the food, 2 days the animal will suffer. So for that sake, he should, when the food is still available, when it has come to the right time, he should avoid this one order for a next batch of the food. So that is, and he should know how much food is there, how much water is there, what is there in the stock, how many cages are there, how many water bottles are there. If cage is damaged, new cage has to be replaced. All this data should be available with that technician. Then the procedures followed for the experiment, where the technician and the scientists are performing the experiments, that area should be defined. It should have a working table, it should have a sterilization room, it should have a room for doing surgeries. All these facilities should be, it should be aseptic. You should maintain positive pressure inside. so that infection doesn't occur. So all these things have to be taken care of in case of this one. Then mortality and ailing. Mortality in the sense, even after doing that, some animals may die. So you should record throughout year from these animals how many have died. That is mortality you have to record. Ailing, if animal is suffering from certain disease, whether it is recovering, not recovering, how many days it has taken for recover. Record everything. Record. We are not speaking. All records should speak. So that is how. Then anesthesia and euthanasia. Anesthesia also I have told earlier, the way of doing experiment was a little different, where decapitation and exsanguination, such things were there. Now they are all barren techniques. So that is, we have to give the death to the animal, painless death. There should not be anxiety, and death should not be given in front of all other rats. You should be brought into the room, give excess dose of anesthesia, so that animal dies in a peaceful way. After doing the experimentation, surgery, whatever you are doing, then it should cause minimum disturbance to the animal, and then the minimum effect on the operator. Operator, suppose if some cruel procedures are the rat and mice, we may not feel much, but when it is a larger animal like a dog and a sheep, uh, the operator may also experience a lot of cruelty. So at that time, he should be trained there to handle all those things. Then the style of doing surgery should be simple, reliable, and economic methods have to be used. Then animal house. You cannot have animal house where every person can come and go. Not allowed. Only the concerned technician, only the concerned scientist are permitted to enter the animal house. That too wearing all the protective gloves, protective gadgets. Maybe as we have seen in COVID PPE kits. So there also they give a PPE kit. Sterile kit gown is given when we enter an animal house. Sterile cap is given. Sterile goggles are given. We have to wear the hand gloves are given and enter, do the surgery and come out from that animal house. Then the doors should be have a mesh so that free air also flows. At the same time, insects, snakes, birds, because rats are there means cat will start entering. If window is large, cat will come and it will eat away the rats. So it should be provided with a strong mesh so that those things do not come. Crack in the walls have to be closed. Then in the roof, it has to be closed. And the temperature and humidity maintain control. This has to be done very well, taken care of very well. So like that, whatever human ends are there, then lighting we have discussed. Cage space, you cannot keep. Suppose if you have everything wonderful, one cage, sterile cage, and you keep 20 animals there, it causes crowding, cannibalism, irritation, hypertension to the animals. So what is the size each rat requires? 2.5 square centimeters for each rat. So whatever it is recommended, that is one cage, large size cage, can have maximum of 6 rats or 6 mice. A small cage, 3 or 4 rats or 3 mice. So like that, we should define that one. So not crowding, much of the crowding. Like in one small room, 20 people staying, that causes irritation and so many other complications also. Free movement, etc. Then separation, that is, you cannot keep a rat and a mice and a monkey and a rabbit and a dog in one room itself. Not permitted. For rats, separate area. For mice, separate area. Rabbits, separate room. Dogs, separate area. So that is the concept of this one. Then grouping of the animals, you should not crowd them and you should not keep them very lonely also. So you should have 4 to 6 ideal. Crowding has to be maintained. Then bedding should be toxic free. As I said, a cobweb, they are this maize cob they are using. Alternative, cheaper alternative that maize cob is wooden husk. From sawmill we get lot of wooden husk, that also can be spread. It will absorb urine, etc. Or another alternative is cork pieces, that will also absorb. Or another alternative, that is a rice husk. From rice mill, the outer coat rice husk, that is also a good bedding. It also will absorb urine, etc. Or water spillage also it will absorb. Or another alternative, that is paper cutting. Small pieces of the paper, even newspaper also, small paper pieces you cut. So urine or water spillage, it will absorb there. So such bedding has to be provided to the animal, depending on the style of laboratory and what type of research is going on. If it is an institute or a college level, this is enough. Paper pieces or sawdust or rice husk is enough. Suppose if it is in a national, international laboratory where the actual research is going on, What we do in M.Pharm and PhD at a college level is almost like a learning license only. But when we enter an international laboratory, that is a DL, driving license. So that should be perfect. So learning license with the L word only. So small things like paper cuttings, etc., can be placed there. Then quality of the experiments, what type of experiments that you are doing, that is genetic quality, biological stress, health of the breeder, supplier, etc., nutrition of food and water. Same thing, what we generally I have told, no, under headings, different headings. Nutrition, cage type and room, ventilation, temperature, noise level, light, other animals, transportation, care of the animals, and techniques of standardization techniques, etc. So whatever entire preamble I have given, now this is under different headings. How it is very well explained. Then different creation of web page you can do and say that how many animals, who is a chairman, who is a member secretary, who are the members. This also can be displayed. And suppose if you are doing breeding, whether do you have breed, you cannot breed at a college level. If at all you want, you should have a breeding license. One is experimental license, holding license, other is breeding license. If you are having only experimental license, yearly 2 meetings. If you are having breeding license, yearly 4 meetings. Quarterly, there should be 1 meeting. The report should be uploaded to CPC New Delhi. So all these things have to be taken care of when we come to this animal. Then male, female animals, and the source from where we have brought the animal should write there. I have brought from, and it should be recorded and archived at least for 3 to 5 years, so that after the study is over, somebody wants to inspect what work was done, when it was done, on which day which drug was tested, what was the outcome, how many died, how many survived. Archived. The report has to be given to a register. It should be signed as and when. It is not like at the year end we put attendance and then sign. Not permitted like that. So every ledger, suppose today's experiment, it should be signed by that scientist, technician, outcome. Tomorrow's experiment signed by a technician, scientist, what was done. Third day, whatever the day, it's the same thing. So then, if you are doing research with a funded project, who is the funding agency? I have got fund from ICMR, AICTE, UGC, PCI, funding agency. How much fund was given? Who has given you permission? How many rats you are supposed to bring and do the experiment? How many you have already done? How many are dead? How many you are procuring? From where you are? All the data should be available. This one. And which species you are bringing? Which sex you are bringing? Maybe uterine studies, only female species. Maybe male hormone studies, only male species will be required. All these things have to be available anytime, whenever check is there. Then while uploading the data, all this data has to, who is a veterinary doctor, who is a technician, what is his qualification, who is a scientist who is working there. In the absence of that scientist, suppose he is on leave, who is the next person who is authorized to handle those animals or give a drug dosage. So that also has to be recorded. So all these are all various guidelines under different headings. Like water and food, one heading, personal technician, one heading, room, one heading, then food material and stock, another heading, records, another heading, animal bringing and quarantine and acclimatization, another heading, from where it was brought, when it was brought, transportation, another heading. So all these have to be defined under various headings, and just 1 or 2 lines explanation. This is done like this, this is done like this. So that should be sufficient for this one. So this is what is basically guidelines for CPC guidelines, how a particular animal studies, or how a person is trained, how it is maintained, where it is maintained, and your studies may be requiring only a neonatal, newborn you are doing studies. So you should mention that I am doing studies on newborn, because drug is needed by a small child. So we should mention that one. I am doing studies in an adult, we should mention that one. Whatever it is there, it is documented, written, signed as and when, and whoever comes for inspection, it should be shown. Then only it becomes part of GLP, then only it becomes part of OECD guideline or ICH guidelines, then only it is accepted throughout the world. Your data is accepted throughout the world. So this is what is in a nutshell, what is a CPC, C and a CPC guidelines. I think now the floor is open for a discussion. Any doubts, anything is there, we can clarify.
Now, participant can ask questions if at all they have. Sir, I have one personal question.
Please.
So, what details are going to be required in case of filing an IND dossier with reference to preclinical?
IND is basically investigational new drugs, NDA new drug applications that are there. So same data that we are generating here, that is from a qualified laboratory. That is today we have so many accrediting agencies. As for colleges, we have NAC accreditation, NBA accreditation. For animal house, we have ALAC application, ALAC, triple A LAC, ALAC it is called as American Association of accreditation of laboratory. That triple A LAC is there. So if they certified by them, whatever data you are generating, it is accepted for the.
And in case of non-sacrificial animals, some only dose administration is done and some effect has to be tested.
Right.
What is the phase-out period between two trials?
It should be 5 half-lives of that particular drug. Half-life of 5 to 6 half-lives. Suppose if 8 hours is a half-life of a particular drug, 8 into 5. After 40 hours, you can reuse the animal. So that is basic spirit of the CPC itself. It is earlier they used to call it as 3 hours. Later it is they call it as 4 hours. Now it is called as 5 hours. That is rehabilitation, reuse, and reduce the number of animals like that. They had coined 3 hours, 4 hours, and 5 hours. Any other doubts, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
Right. So,
is there any more question from other participants?
I think there are no questions. If there are no questions, I think we can log off.
Dr. Kalshiti, sir, are you there? Dr. Kalshiti, sir, is trying to speak. Maybe because of the network lag, he is unable to speak.
Right.
In that case, shall we close the session, sir?
Yeah. So I take this opportunity to thank Solapur University and Dr. R.Y. Patel, who is my good friend, and Dr. Kalshetty, who is also good friend, and also Dr. Ansari, and all the participants who have listened to me with patience for entire 4 days. So thank you very much. I wish all the best to all the participants who are taking their PG or PhD courses. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I am logging out.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nitin Mahurkar, sir.
Thank you.
On behalf of the institute, on behalf of the research center, on personal behalf of our respected principal, Dr. R.Y. Patil, sir, Dr. Kalshetty, sir, and on behalf of all the participants, I extend hearty thanks to Dr. Mahurkar, sir, for having spared these many sessions, and even after completing his daily work, he spared this time for us. Topic which you covered were they're really crucial in the development of the new drug, right from the drug discovery to preclinical and submission of the IND. For IND, preclinical data is a must. And
okay, thank you, sir.
Informative manner you have tried.
Okay, I think Dr. Kalshetty is working in.
Yes, sir. I'm having some problem, network problem.
Yeah, I know. I understand. No problem, sir.
Yes, sir. So we are thankful to you, sir. So
thank you, sir.
Again, we will require your help in future. So
okay, sure.
I expect for the development of our organization and your contribution you expect. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Have a
sir.
good
Good night.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Okay, sir. Tomorrow I will call you. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. Participant can leave.